What's up, everyone? All right, so here we are. This is the second no trade day of 2025. Today's the day where I sat down at 7 a.m. I looked at the scans. I didn't see anything I liked. I waited for news at 7, 7:38, 8:39. We didn't get anything that looked good. And right now it's about 10:15. And I said, you know what? I'm throwing in the towel. I just don't see anything that looks good enough to take risk. And that's what it's all about, risk and reward. Now, if I saw something that I thought I could get a good reward on, I'd be happy to take the risk, but it just doesn't look that way today. Now, interestingly, BMNR, this is the Bitmine Immersion Technology stock, is currently up right now 25%. It's got 47 million shares of volume. It's interestingly easy to borrow. Over $2 billion has changed hands on this in terms of total dollars traded. It's a more expensive stock at $65 a share right now. And I talked myself out of trading it. You know, I looked at it and I said, on the one hand, I like this daily chart, you know, this curling pattern. These can work nicely, you know, sort of rallying back up here. You'll at a certain point start to have a natural target back towards that like $120 spot. And then, of course, over that is 160. But, and this is a big but, it's awfully expensive right now. That's number one. And number two, the price action that we've been seeing on these types of headlines has not been very positive for the last couple of weeks. With the headline being the Bitcoin treasury strategy or the crypto treasury strategy, Ethereum, etc. So I just felt like, you know, I don't have a cushion on the day to take the risk. And this wasn't moving pre-market. It didn't start squeezing until, you know, after the opening bell, which is fine. But for me, without a cushion, I just felt like it's a much higher risk time of day to take a trade. It's a higher risk price to take a trade on. It's easy to borrow, which means it's going to have a lot more short sellers trying to keep it down. And all of that combined for me to feel that there wasn't enough reward to take the risk. Again, that's what it's all about. So let's kind of break down the day, you know, from the beginning. So when I first sat down this morning, we had a stock, was it ATLS? No, ALTS. This was it. ALTS. This stock was our leading gapper and gainer this morning until right here. Whoa. So it was squeezing up pre-market on no news. There was no clear catalyst. However, I looked at the filings on it. I have it up right here. And I saw that they had just filed an amended shelf registration on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. That gave them the right to sell up to $2 billion of stock. Okay, wow. That's a lot of stock that they have the right to sell. So I use this website, BAM SEC. It just makes it easier to search for the filings. ALTS, there it is. So when you do this search, you can see the financials, you can see the prospectus for the offerings, the shelf registration, and then the prospectus is coming through here today. So what we ended up getting news of today is that they're selling more shares. So it shouldn't be a surprise, but they're going to do it to initiate a cryptocurrency strategy. So in other words, they're selling shares to raise money to put all that money into crypto. And in previous months, that same headline has resulted in the stock going up, but that kind of wore off. And part of the issue here is, well, wait a second, let's not forget about the fact that this thing already went up 100% because clearly somehow the news had gotten leaked and people knew what was coming and thought it would be reacting positively to the news. But in fact, the news came out and immediately it tanked. So that's disappointing to see, but it also adds the confusion of why BMNR would be going higher. Now, there's some differences in some of these headlines. Some of them are not a open market offering. Some of them are a private placement. So it's a private type of offering where the shares are getting sold to an institution who's presumably going to hold them. But they could also sell them right on the open market for a massive profit. In fact, the investors that put money into this are up billions of dollars. It's unbelievable. So BNC, this is was formerly Vape. You could see this one popped up, sold off. right? Then we've got EMPD, formerly, I think it was VLCN. This one, you can't see the chart previously, but popped up, sold off. So at this point, I don't feel like I trust that headline. So ALTS, I wasn't trading it anyways. 16 million share float is a little higher, but I didn't see news for it. And for that reason, I felt like I couldn't trust it. So I was not even touching it, and I didn't trade it at all. And I'm glad, because then we got that drop. Now, if you remember in my game plan yesterday, I said, make yourself that sticky note, cold market, right? So I said, look, go easy. And I actually decided that I wouldn't even open my trading software. Now, I do have it open now just to show you that I have 0 trades. But that I wouldn't even open my software unless I saw something that was good. So of course, I have my charts and scanners right up here, but I didn't even want to open Lightspeed and even look at the level 2 unless I saw something here that was really captivating. Now, the only thing that means is that I wouldn't know if something was easy to borrow or hard to borrow, because I get that information from my broker. But nonetheless, I was really staying very disciplined today. So a couple other stocks popped up, BJDX. Just scroll back on the scans here. That's sort of different ways to look at what happened this morning. This one, it popped up, sold off, popped up, sold off. We've traded this one enough times that we know that generally when it pops up, it has a high volume selling day. ASST, 15 million share float, has popped up, but is sort of more or less going sideways. There's nothing there. BTAI, this one keeps popping up and then failing, so there's also nothing to trade there. AUUD, as I mentioned yesterday, this one was already up after hours and then popped pre-market and then has been stair-stepping down. So the trend now is going down. SOUN, 400 million share float nearly. That's too high, so that doesn't work. VVPR, in the past has given good action, but more recently has not. WLDS popped up earlier, a little too cheap, just not enough momentum behind it. And so this was kind of the story today. We had short-lived pops that just didn't really hold up very well. And although I probably could have jumped in, I suppose, some of these, honestly, none of them looked good to me. I just said, I just don't feel comfortable taking the risk. And then that brings us back to 4 a.m. So we're definitely in the trenches right now. It's slow. A silver lining, perhaps, is that we're still in a bull market. And that's kind of confusing. I mean, the overall market's clearly a bull market, right? And yet there's not much to trade. So, in fact, this whole year has been strong, even though at certain points the overall market was selling off and then bouncing, back up. So during the sell-off period, I still was trading just fine. So I think there's something to be said for the fact that, yes, it's great that we're not in a bear market, or the market's not in a true correction period. But at the same time, as a small cap trader, what I rely on are small cap stocks moving with news. So why aren't we having news come out that's strong enough? Well, part of it, it's summer, it's August. So think about all these CEO executives that work at these big companies, and they're thinking about, when to put out news and when they're in their heavy work cycle and when, things are a little bit more low key. August is typically a more low key time of the year. They used to have the expression sell in May, go away. And then they didn't have a good rhyme for come back in September. It's something you'll remember. So that's what it should be. But they never came up with that. So it's just go away in May because the market cools off during the summer. But typically it's coming into September and then Q4, October, November, December, that the companies start putting out earnings again and we start seeing these really big moves. So I think part of it is just the natural business cycle, and summers tend to be a little bit slower for a lot of companies, not for all, but certainly for some. Summer travel, executives that have children at an age where they take, trips to Europe or they go to the Hamptons or this and that. So, and that kind of trickles down from the top level execs all the way, to the attorneys at the law offices that draft these PRs. And, it's sort of all the way down, which can create a bit of slowness in August and sometimes even in September as well before things pick up in Q4. So I'm not I'm not totally shocked, but on this, at the same time, we had such strong momentum in June and July. I thought this year would be an exception. And obviously right now it's not seeming to be the case. So my game plan at this point is, really just to keep myself throttled back and, it's essentially put away the big guns and not to take a lot of risk. And if something pops up, I'm just going to even if it looks great, I'm still going to just approach it a little bit more cautiously given the current slower market that we seem to be in, fewer traders, sentiment's a little bit, weaker. We haven't had any incredible moves that I think sparks a degree of FOMO where people are like, oh, I don't want to miss the next one. We're just all kind of waiting for something to actually prove it's worth jumping off the sidelines for. So, it's a no trade day today. Could it be a no trade day again tomorrow? It certainly could be. I mean, I wouldn't be thrilled with it, but as I said yesterday, you have two choices. You can either be stubborn and you can trade everything that's moving, and in market conditions like this, you're going to get chopped up and you're probably going to lose money. Or you can recognize that when it's hot, you'll make a lot, and when it's cold, it's better just to take your foot off the gas entirely. And so, yes, it would be nice to just make an even X amount every single day, but, I'll have 2X on some days and then I'll have, nothing on other days. And that's just trading the market you're in and what the market's willing to give you on any given day. And that really, to me, is key to long-term success in the market. So that's it for me. I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk by practicing in a simulator before putting real money on the line. And I'll see you guys bright and early, 7 a.m. live streaming.